the crack of dawn this morning and finished this journal. So let's talk about it. I've got it tied with some sari silk here. So this journal, if you've been watching, you know that I've used a genuine chick feed bag and covered a book, an ordinary book cover. So for the spine, I pieced together several pieces of feed sack and just added some lace. I think this green one is the only one that's not feed sack, but just applique on some lace, did a little not cross stitches, but some French knots in here, some little embroidery here. And on the back, I made a little pocket by cutting a vintage linen. In the back, I have a little tag that's backed with some tea-dyed copy paper, and I just put a little seed packet image on the front. And here's a little picture of two little girls. They've won some sort of an award. She's got a some kind of a trophy and a ribbon. Maybe it has something to do with the dog, I don't know. But they look like they're in their Sunday best. And I can see a small magnolia tree blooming there. So this is definitely spring. And I've backed it with some old book paper, so you could journal on that. That's not a genuine photo. That's an image cut from a book. So you can probably see, oh, here's some more cross stitches here and here. You can probably see that the overall theme is spring. So there's going to be lots of pastels and growing. Sorry, I'm just going to cut this thread. And chicks and bunnies and, you know, everything that Easter is. Though not an Easter journal. So I'm going to open it up, and here on the inside, you can see that I have covered the inside page with ticking, same as this, actual fabric, and I made a little pocket down here out of feed sack fabrics. And I added a couple of layers of eyelet lace, different eyelet lace. Here I have another tag that I made with a seed packet. This is a genuine photo, and she's wearing white, I think. So this is probably springtime, and this is a invoice for a feed company that I've tea-dyed. Okay, so the first page here is from a 1947 book called The Happy Rabbit. This ruffle here came from a vintage wedding dress petticoat that I bought a while ago. And I just, I dyed it with some Rit dye. And it turned out really well. So to ruffle. Here I have a page, tea-dyed page from a gardening book. And this photo here, I'll have to bring it up and hopefully you'll be able to see it. It's actually a tiny photo that has chickens. I just tipped up the bottom to make a pocket, and this is a paint chip actually, and the name of the paint color is Sunny Jonquil. So I fussy cut, I think they're jonquils. Tied a little scrap fabric in there and fussy cut some crocuses. or croquis, maybe? I don't know. This is a vintage die cut place card. So I've just put these little chicks here. They're gonna ride on that pocket. So that could be glued down, but I just left it. But if it was glued down, then, well, I guess you could tuck stuff behind there at any case. This is a page from a gardening book about bulbs. So we have tulips, crocuses, there's a daffodil. This is some paper. It's 25% cotton paper that I dyed with Rit dye to make this nice tealy blue color. This is a piece of stationery from a chicken farm. Here I made this pocket out of packaging. I did that video on Saturday, I think. And I've just tucked this postcard in the back, or sorry, in the pocket. Added 3 different kinds of lace stitched on, and you can tuck something behind it. Here's an envelope that I dyed with avocado, and I've just folded up some vintage wrapping paper in here that you can use to you can journal on the inside, you can tear it up and use it for collage, you can do whatever you want to do with it. And this is an altered paper clip I made with a yo-yo. I did this video a couple, maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe? I'm not sure. Just to hold that closed, and you know, something could be clipped to the back. This is a letter to Wilton's Grandview Poultry Farm from 1939, and I've just tucked this up inside it. So this is an envelope. It has some paper in there for journaling, but I liked all the pink. So this is sort of like a tag. You can just pull it out. There's also a spot there to put in paper or a tag or something if you want. I just decorated this corner here with a very old farming newspaper, and it's all about advertising for baby chicks. Little fabric ruffle. This is old vintage fabric. Here's the other part of that tea-dyed gardening book. And here I have a vocabulary card, a German vocabulary card for Easter. And this is a vintage seal. So it has bunny and tulips. I added this tiny little glassine pocket, and I added some tulle and a little applique, and inside is a vintage coupon. This flips out. Lots of genuine ephemera in here. Tons and tons. Oh. Another page from that, the Happy Bunny book. Hey, this page came from a watercolor book that I got, and there was actually, I got it for the paper, but when I opened it up, I saw that there was actually some watercolors in there. No idea who the artist is or when these were painted, but here's some tulips. This is some more of that 25% cotton paper that I dyed with RIT dye, and it came up with this lovely lilac color. And I just clipped on this tag with pretty pansies. Pansies are something we see a lot here locally in the spring, because that's one of the first flowers, the annuals, that the gardening centers bring out, the ice pansies. Some tea-dyed journaling page. This came from a journal. Some old music page. And here I have a little photo. Made this little tag. Fussy cut flower. This is a letter from 1947. I've tucked this little bunny card. This is not vintage. This is a reproduction. And it can go in that pocket or that pocket. This is some sari silk. And I'll just put this under here again. And this vintage lace came from a piece of clothing that I bought at an antique market. Like a collar sort of thing. Scrapbook paper. This is from a farm journal. Here is some tea-dyed copy paper. And there's an Easter bunny. Not an Easter bunny. An Easter chick. So this is one of those greeting cards that I was going through the other day. And I thought, oh, I'm just going to put that in, since there's so many chicks here. And this was from 1959, clearly, from grandmother and grandfather Kaminsky. This is a telegram sheet from the Grand Trunk Railway system that I saved from further destruction by gluing it to some scrapbook paper. This is vintage wrapping paper, and I covered a business envelope, a junk mail envelope with it. Nothing speaks of spring to me more than forsythia. This is a little tuck spot here. This little picture of tulips and daffodils and irises. And here is some more of that petticoat that I dyed with RIT. Maybe I'm not very centered. Am I centered now? Not bad. So this was the big window envelope, and inside is this envelope that I made with the vellum for a window. And this is a sticker that Catherine Brown from Catherine Brown Art sent to me, and I believe this came from a 1940s scrapbook. So I've just tucked those guys in there. This is some it was gummed tape for closing boxes of chicks, and you would send your chicks to be sold. I've just folded that in half, stitched it on there. This is from an old encyclopedia. A couple of baby chicks there, as well as some examples of different chickens. And here's some daffodils. This is vintage wrapping paper. You can see the old tape marks. Here's another piece of vintage encyclopedia. Has some pictures of chickens on it. This is a farm journal. I tea-dyed this page from a gardening book. Has some wild strawberries there. And what this is a paper bag from Clark's Flour and Feed, stock and poultry feeds from our registered formulas. Phone 39. So the inside the bag, well, let's take this paper clip off first. This is a vintage paper clip. This is a little picture of a boy, and he's got a lawnmower. Looks like there's a lot of dandelions in that lawn as well. Inside is this long tag, and this is from a vintage greeting card. And I've just glued on some invoice paper, not invoice, yeah, ledger. Just glued on some ledger paper, but I kept the violet uncovered. So put that back in the bag. This is a ticket from CN. I've just glued that on there as, you know, a little bit of pink. And here's a tag that I made from some packaging. This was from Prima. Can't remember what it was, but I liked the green. So I just covered the back with some, this was from an old envelope actually that was too dirty to use, but it was so great. I had to put it on this tag, and I added a little sari silk, little fussy cut. There's a letter from 1962 to a poultry farm. This is a page from a very old, I want to say 1937 seed catalog. And yeah, it was 1937. Good for you, Nancy. So it was very fragile. So I glued it onto this page that is even older than the seed catalog. So this was a cross stitch pattern. Another tea-dyed page that has some vintage lace on it. Here I put 3 levels of eyelet lace. So in here is a piece of genuine ephemera. You saw this in my haul from the Nostalgia Show a couple weeks ago. And it's about feeding chicks. And it's pink. Just stuck that in there. Here is a pretty picture. This is not genuine ephemera. This is a reprint. But this is. So this is to an invitation to a birthday party. Made in USA. So a little bit of everything in this 3-pocket page. This was 1916. This pattern. Here's the other part of that envelope from Lamont's Featherland Farms. So here is a gardening book page. I have glued on this old invoice from 1931, I think. And I liked it because it had pink and purple that I thought was very spring-like. So I added this little piece of feed sack ruffle. And here's a little lady that I glued onto some paper. This was a picture from a book. But she is photographed with 2 chickens. So I just added a little crocheted motif. And this is a vintage seal. So you can lift this up and put pictures underneath or whatever. Farm journal. The other half of that encyclopedia. And that vintage wrapping paper. Here's the happy bunny. And it's spring when all the little birds and animals are glad and full of a desire to do all kinds of hoppity, skippity, up in the airish things. I sewed some trim from an old handkerchief in variegated yellow. This is tatting. I've sewed it onto the bottom of the stationery from that poultry farm. Another piece of farm ledger. This is this is a advertisement letter from, I think, 1958, and it was on blue paper, and I thought, well, that's very spring-like. So this is not a genuine piece of ephemera. This is a reprint, but this is an actual 1958 letter, and it has a spot to tuck there. This came from a vintage greeting card. There's a place to tuck there. And I just tore a thumb hole so that there's a place to tuck there. Lots of tucking to go on. Scrapbook paper, a letter to a poultry farm. In the center is a picture from, it's marked here 1870. This is from the fly leaf of the Happy Bunny book. And inside I tucked this tag. So Heather from can't remember the name of the channel. My gosh. Anyway, she did a little how-to the couple weeks ago, I guess now. This is a piece of genuine ephemera. This is a paste stub from a dairy, actually. And I've put it on some brown paper, did some stitching, some embossed card, a little bit of texture paste there, and some sari silk in the top. Oh, and this is a genuine invoice from the 1920s, and again, it's blue and it's gorgeous. Here I made another little clear envelope from packaging. This is a vintage postcard, I think from the 40s. Oh my gosh. It's too far away from my face to see. So I think, okay, I got it. So I added a little piece of vintage lace cut from a hanky. Added this little vintage brass pin and pinned on this little applique. A vocabulary card. And I fussy cut this guy from a magazine or a book, and fussy cut these flowers so it looks like he's holding flowers. And there's that happy bunny. So I put another half of that vintage linen in the back, and this is this was a letter, and it opened up, and so this was a letter, I can't remember what year, but interestingly, their pullets are laying. So it talks about, they got over 30 yesterday, so it talks about eggs. Chickens and eggs. But I added an extra page of some business expenses paper, so that can be, you can read the letter, or you can do some journaling there. And this is a picture from a hospital in Alberta. And I just thought the pale blues and the pinks and the flowers kind of went well with this. And that's the end of this journal. Anyway, I enjoyed making this. It felt very creative. I hope you thought this was interesting as well. Just want to show you the side. It is about 9.5 by 6.5. There's 4 signatures, and it's a hidden hollow back spine, which means it lies flat, so you can journal easier. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. If you're interested in purchasing this journal, it is listed on my Etsy, and the link is below. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.